Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to 90 Minutes Strong. I'm Austin Robillard, your host here again with Martin Batter. Right? I'm trying to get better with that.
You're
uh,
perfect right there.
all
Yes,
right.
perfect start.
Um, Inter Miami playing about 36 minutes because MLS is always late. It won't exactly be at 8:30. We go against Nashville SC, our expansion team partners. Not necessarily a rivalry. I don't think that that's always the case when you have expansion teams in MLS, but we are looking to get the win today. We have an unchanged starting 11. It was just announced. Luis Robles will be playing keeper again. We'll have a back four of Ben Sweat, LGP, Reyes, and Figal. In the midfield will be Ulloa and Trapp. We'll have Pellegrini, Morgan, and Pizarro in the midfield going forward. And then Carranza is the starting striker, despite Robbie Robinson actually coming back to the team. He was gone due to personal reasons, did not get to play in the tournament. He passed quarantine and all of that, so he's back with the team, but he is on the bench today. It's a big matchup. We didn't get to play against Atlanta on Wednesday, so we have about a week break. And what this game is going to mean a lot. We want to have that win against an expansion team and show that we are the better side starting off. Martin, I'm going to take this over to you. What do you want to see Inter Miami be consistent with in this game that we saw against Orlando?
Well, Austin, the first thing I would like to see is the same ambition that the team showed at home against Orlando City. It was a beautiful match to watch. You were texting me how elated you were, and I could feel your happiness through the phone. It was a really moving experience, really. But I mean, I also want to see the dynamism, the not being standing around, the trying to make things happen. That I loved. And I would love to see a clean sheet, since Nashville isn't exactly an offensive powerhouse. They're a defensive minded team. So it would be nice to see a clean sheet for the first time and build from that defensively. How about you? What do you want to see?
I think that the clean sheet will be extremely important. We haven't gotten one yet, as you mentioned. We've been conceding every single game due to mostly individual mistakes. Last game we conceded late and also pretty early to Daryl Dike, who got 3 chances back to back to back because we weren't clearing the ball in the box. I want to see a solid performance from these guys in their second game together. I know that now this chemistry needs to start building. So the ambition has got to be there as well as the chemistry. I think this defense, a clean sheet will be very, very, very good for the confidence. Attacking wise, we got to sit back on the ball a little bit against Orlando. They controlled the possession for most of the game, even though it didn't seem like it. But that's because we were going forward so much. And I think that we need to keep that progressive play in mind while going forward. Nashville have never controlled possession in any of their MLS games. So neither of the teams actually have. So it's going to be weird to see that dynamic. Who's going to control the possession? Who's going to control the game from that aspect? I think midfield-wise, we have a lot better quality than them. They have a great center back in Walker Zimmerman. But in the midfield, they're a little bit unproven compared to Victor Ulloa and Will Trapp, who are MLS veterans, despite how not poorly they've been doing, but we'd like to see more from them. So hopefully, they can take advantage of Nashville today and control the possession. But even if not, I think that the game plan worked really well for Diego Alonso into Miami last game. And all of these passes that mostly went forward were absolutely perfect. And despite only having, I think, 45 or a little bit less than 45% possession in the first half, we were the dominant side. So that will be really, really, really interesting to see who controls the possession. But ultimately, we want to see us going forward. Quickly, I want to talk about Julian Carranza here. He started off the year injured. And in the Orlando tournament, we didn't see what we thought we were going to see. We thought we were going to see this young electric striker. And all of a sudden, he just broke out against Orlando, had 2 really fantastic goals. What do you expect to see from him tonight? Do you think he gets a couple more goals, or is he going to be that young, ambitious striker that we really want on this team?
Okay, again, Carranza. Let's make it happen.
Carranza.
We're getting better. We're getting better.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you where we want to be by the end of the year. That's my
Okay.
mission. It's not. It's not doing a good show. It's not getting into Miami to improve. No, no, no. It's for you to roll your R's. That's my hope. That's my mission right now.
I'll make
That's
sure I practice. I'll make sure I practice.
you see that's guys. That's the kind of impact I have on people. But regardless, what was the question?
uh, Julian Carranza.
Carranza, what do you
There
expect
we
to
go.
see from him? Okay, yeah,
Exactly.
it's time to refocus. Uh, and for him, it's time to certify that what happened last week wasn't a mirage. I think that the week's layoff, obviously, we know that Inter Miami didn't play in the middle of the week because of the Black Lives Matter protest, which by the way, I think it was great that MLS was united in it, despite the fact that Nashville and Orlando actually played. They were the only match, I believe, that was played throughout that boycott in the middle of the week. But I absolutely love the fact that it was a unified effort and it wasn't as disjointed as with the NHL and with baseball and even with football and its practices. So I thought it was a great show of unity by the MLS. And again, coming back to Carranza, he scored twice against Orlando City, and I want to see the same kind of enthusiasm from him. I mean, that's what goal scorers do. They may not get a chance for 89th minute, but in the 90th minute, they appear once and they score that goal you need. That's what I want to see from him. And especially now that we're going to talk about a certain player possibly coming to Inter Miami, I expect to see a fire under him.
I totally agree. We planned on talking about Gonzalo Higuain. You are definitely a major. You're very much into, I should say, European soccer. We want to talk about Higuain on this show because the rumors are kind of heating up. Is Higuain or any other number 9? We'll get to Higuain specifically, but with Carranza playing like this, you want to see that fire under him. And if this continues, do you still waste a DP on a number 9?
Yes, there is no comparison. Even an Higuain in decline is better than a promising Carranza in the MLS right now. Let's look at it this way. There's pros and cons to bringing Gonzalo Higuain to the MLS, but if it happens, it will be a huge boost to Inter Miami. And Higuain, even if he's on the decline right now, he's still only 32 years old, and he will be a top 2, even the best striker in the league now. It's just there's no comparison with Carranza. That question shouldn't even be asked. Having said that, Higuain has gone from 32 goals with Juventus in 2016-17 to 23 in 2017-18, and then he was on loan to Milan and Chelsea. And this season, he only had 11 goals in 43 matches. So clearly, he's in decline, but I think that it's not a coincidence because he quit the Argentina national team at the same time that his decline started. I think that the way that the Argentinian finals that Argentina lost because of him, in part because of the goals that he missed in clutch portions of the matches, that broke him in a way. So he needs to come to a league that doesn't really care that much about soccer. I mean, that's not. I don't want it to sound wrong. I don't mean that Inter Miami fans don't care, but they don't care at the level of Real Madrid, River, Chelsea, Milan, Juventus, where and let's not even mention Argentina, where he's the pariah of a whole nation. I mean, if he comes to the MLS, he could find the peace of mind that will allow him to rejuvenate himself and find the joy of playing again, because that's what he's missing. Ever since the 2016 Copa America that sealed his fate with the Argentina national team, he lost the joy of playing and his numbers have gone steeply down in Europe. Coming to Miami, I think will be a great remedy for him and his career and a great boost for Inter Miami as well.
I think it makes a lot of sense too when a player's on that decline. He's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna find money in another top 5 league in Europe. So maybe being this DP is good for him on the field and off the field as well, because he's going to be able to get paid like a top talent that he is. Even though he's on the decline, I think he'll be able to get paid like a top talent. And if Inter Miami are able to do that, I think it would be fantastic for us. And if he plays a full season, easy 20, 25 goal season for him. I think that if we can get him the balls that he needs and the production that put the ball at his feet at the end of the box, that's it, and let him work.
I'm gonna say this: the Serie A defenses that allowed 11 goals from him are 10 times better than any MLS defenses.
I would
It's
say
kind of
100
like
times better.
it's kind of like setting the difficulty on FIFA from legendary to pro.
No,
That's
100%.
that's the difference. So 20, 25 goals, and you may be falling short, especially with players like Pizarro and Luis Morgan assisting him in the way that they can. I can't state how much of an improvement Higuain will be. But then again, as we see in Europe right now, the smoke screens are everywhere. So let's be cautious about what we may be here or may learn from anything, because as we know from Cavani, from Falcao, from Jose Martinez, and now Higuain, every number 9 everywhere has been close to coming to Miami at some point.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing in the beginning of the season. We were hyped up so much, and David Beckham said his phone he was going to be sending out calls now. So we don't want to get too hyped, but it would be a massive signing. And I think CR7 Billa here has a point. There's no veteran striker on this team. I think Juan Agudelo is 27, has only ever played really in MLS. Jerome Kiesewetter is only about 25, 26. He had a little bit of time in Germany, but other than that, it was 1 year, and then he played in the USL last year for El Paso. And then the other two strikers are both Carranza and Robbie Robinson, who are both 19 and 20 or 21 years old. Having a veteran striker is really good for these young guys to learn off of. We have a lot of veteran aspects all across the field. Striker is not one of them. So that's another aspect.
He's not just a veteran striker, though. He is someone that has played in multiple World Cups. He scored a hat trick in a World Cup. How many MLS strikers can say that? I mean, as Argentinians, we give Higuain so much crap. I mean, he doesn't. Well, he does deserve it, really. I mean, I'm not gonna regret it. He does deserve it, but he does again. I can separate things. He can be my personal trauma in Argentina, but with Inter Miami, he will be nothing less than a godsend for David Beckham, especially since he was able to bring Matuidi here, and now if he can add an offensive world-class talent, then his credibility goes way up. And let's face it, how many Miami executives have the executive gravitas to be able to bring star power like that? Only Pat Riley. The Dolphins haven't brought free agent talent like that since Ndoma Kinsu, and we know how that turned out. And the Panthers, nah. Then you have who am I missing? The Marlins. Oh, let's not even begin with the Marlins.
They all go away. All the talent goes away from Miami when it comes to baseball.
Who was the last free agent that came to Miami and actually contributed in a meaningful way? So Beckham will be earning his stripes as an executive in the South Florida sports scene big time. If Higuain comes, even if the American sports fan isn't that familiar with who Gonzalo Higuain may be. And besides, his brother plays in the MLS too.
That's true. I think he plays for DC United now. He had a long stint with the Columbus Crew, and now he's over with DC. But yeah, that's true. His brother does play there. Let's go back to the Inter Miami news. When it comes to the lineup, we have Juan here who says, "Where is Roman Torres not in the bench?" Which is interesting. There isn't a true center back. I just looked on the subs for this team. And I think that that's kind of okay considering Figal will be playing in the right back role. He got to go forward a lot. And I think that if something unfortunately were to happen to any of these guys, they can put in someone like De La Garza or Nealis to fill in that role, maybe switch to a back 3 or a back 5, whatever it may be. I don't know any news on Roman Torres. I haven't heard anything from the club. If there is some kind of injury there, all the best to him. But honestly, I think that if it's not, Roman Torres' time at Inter Miami and in MLS is kind of running thin as a starter. I don't think that he sees a lot more time in this team. Maybe if we were playing in the U.S. Open Cup or something like that, he would be in there. But the regular season at this point is so crucial. And, him getting up in age, 35, 36 years old, however old he is, we know he's a lot slower than he used to be. And all credit to him. He's one of, the best most consistent center backs in MLS history. But Roman Torres doesn't have a place when you have LGP, Reyes, and Figal, all 26 years old or younger, in this lineup. All can play center back. Figal now being transitioned to right back, as we see. I just don't see Roman Torres' future in this team. I think it's a good rotational piece if we ever needed it, but that's just the way it goes when it comes to this sports world. I want to talk quickly about Lewis Morgan here. Didn't get an assist in his last time out, although he was kind of responsible for the Pizarro goal. Lewis Morgan and Figal had a really good 1-2 on the far side. Lewis Morgan whips in across, hits the back of Ulloa's head, falls perfectly to Pizarro's feet, and he absolutely has a class finish into the bottom right corner. Lewis Morgan, for me, has been probably our most consistent player, and I preach this because I love watching him play. He is fantastic, and I think he actually would have a place in the Celtic team back over in Scotland. I'm really glad we signed him. Lewis Morgan, I kind of want to see him get on the score sheet, although that's not what his only attribute is. What has his impact on the team meant so far to you? Is he a surprise? Did you expect this? And what do you want to see going forward?
To say it was a surprise, I don't think so, because when I think of someone that comes from a top level squad in Europe, regardless if it's the Scottish League, I mean Celtic is still a team that is very respected in Europe, even if it's not the powerhouse it used to be back in the 70s and 80s. But Lewis Morgan is consistency. It's what this team needs. To me, it's not about him trying to do too much. It's that he does just enough. And that's okay with me. That's what this team needs. Do your job. Lewis Morgan does his job. So I have no problem whatsoever with him. Is he going to have some stellar nights? Yeah, hopefully. But as long as he's consistent and he stabilizes the offense and he complements himself well with Pizarro and with Carranza, then I'm okay with him. I'm not going to ask him to take up the mantle and score 2 goals every match. That's not what he does. So the fact that he is consistent and that he does a lot of little hidden things that you may not see on TV, and that if we were at the stadium we will be able to see, that counts for a lot too, and I'm sure Diego Alonso appreciates.
Absolutely. And then we're going to switch it over to the other side. I know I gave him a lot of stick in the last show, but Matheus Pellegrini still getting his starts. He was not forced, but excuse me. He got to play in more of a center attacking mid role. Pizarro shifted out between the left and the middle. So Pellegrini, we saw him a lot in the middle, and I don't think he was as consistent as not as consistent, but he wasn't as prominent as I'd want him to be in that role. I think that role might suit him. Although he is a traditional winger, I think that he loves to get a head on dribble with field in front of him, with space in front of him, and if he can receive a ball at his feet in the midfield and take on attackers one-on-one and maybe come up with some kind of link-up play with Carranza or out to Pizarro or out to Morgan on the wings while he's up the middle, Pellegrini could have an impact there, and I think that that's what I want to see from him tonight. And your fellow Argentinian Pellegrini, do you think that this center attacking mid role suits him? And what do we expect to see? Do you think Alonso keeps it the same where, Pizarro and him, I mentioned over on the Twitter page, you guys can check that out at the link below over there, that him and Pizarro are completely interchangeable. So on the left mid defensively and on the attacking side, do you think that this suits him?
I think that Diego Alonso has seen Bayern Munich play in the Champions League, took some notes, and decided that it's not about what position you start out playing, it's about how you move around during the entire match. Pellegrini suits that kind of versatility, where you may see him start where Pizarro is supposed to be. All of a sudden, 15 minutes later, he's at the wing. Like, let's think of it like this: the goal that gave Bayern Munich the title against PSG. You had Coman start back in the middle and midfield, and then 5 passes later, he was all the way to the right over there, just hidden. Nobody saw him come, and that's how he scored the goal with the header. That's kind of how I see Pellegrini. He may start one place, and if everything goes right and he does what the coach wants him to do, then he's going to appear anywhere else but where he is expected to be in a good way by the time the play is over. That's kind of how I see him, where he's a jack of all trades kind of thing, where you may see Pizarro be more stationary, or where Morgan is gonna be. You definitely know where Carranza is gonna be. So Pellegrini is more of like you can expect him to do the unexpected when he plays well, which he hasn't yet. But again, like I said last week, no, like last week, where he needs more time to adapt, a little more continuity. Continuity breeds success, and that's what's going to happen with Pellegrini.
And if this positive play continues, they're going to be able to get all of these guys involved and may put numbers on the stat sheet, but the impact from every single one will become prominent, and we'll be able to see that. I'm going to shift over lastly to the midfield with Ulloa and Trapp, that partnership. We talked about it briefly when we talked about Matuidi, who's not here yet. But I want to quickly talk about where he stands. A lot of fans are asking, where is Matuidi? Is he going to play? Is he in the roster yet? Not yet. He was granted some kind of vacation. I don't know how long it was supposed to be, but he was coming off a UCL campaign and Serie A. And they told him, before he came, he was allowed to take that vacation, be with his family, get everything set up. It wasn't going to be a quick instant impact from him, but when he comes in, it will be, obviously, but he wasn't going to start, in the first game back. And I think that they're still, going through the paperwork and trying to get his work visa and things like that. So Matuidi is not here yet, but I talked about it last week with you. And I said, Trapp and Ulloa, both of these guys need to prove that they're the starter who can play next to Matuidi. Has anybody shown that to you yet in this one game that we saw against Orlando, or are we still looking for more out of them?
I think that's the luxury that we have, where we don't have to make a decision yet, and Diego Alonso knows it. Kind of like how Houston had the luxury of waiting until Game 5 to reinsert Westbrook into the lineup. Well, Matuidi, as long as Inter Miami keeps playing well and keeps winning, that buys him time to get his legs under him again. And it's not easy to come from what was it, like a 4 month, like a 3 month hiatus with the quarantine in Italy. Then he had to play with the Serie A about 10 matches non-stop, like Serie A, Champions League, Serie A, Champions League, and all of a sudden you have that elimination prematurely against Lyon, and then all of a sudden you are about to embark on a whole different kind of experience in another country without being able to stop. So I think Inter Miami wants to make sure that Matuidi is 100% to be able to deploy him as usually as often as they want him to. So again, as long as Inter Miami keeps winning and Trapp and Ulloa keep doing a good job, then the decision can come later on as far as who stands out more. But today is definitely, I think, a great opportunity for Ulloa to be able to be more involved offensively and show Alonso that he can be the more offensive-minded of the two and complement himself with Matuidi more than Trapp will be, because I think Trapp is more similar to Matuidi than Ulloa could be.
I totally agree with that. And Trapp, I think Ulloa has the upper edge here in terms of the production so far. I don't think Trapp has been on his level. But like I talked about right in the beginning of the show, Nashville have not controlled possession in any of their games, and neither have Inter Miami. So if these two can figure something out, and we are able to control possession and control the game from both of them, I think it's going to put a lot on Diego Alonso to figure this out. One person I want to mention is Nguyen, who has not started a game for Inter Miami, but when we did see him as a sub, he made almost an instant impact. Even though we were down, he was creative and going forward. The one thing about Nguyen that I say a lot is that he started off as an attacking midfielder, and he was an MLS All-Star when he was an attacking midfielder. Now that he spent his time in LAFC with Bob Bradley, and Bob Bradley moved him and used him as a center defensive mid, he's got this versatility in the midfield that I think could suit pairing him with Matuidi extremely, extremely well. I don't know what it is about not starting him. I think a lot of fans were questioning that in the tournament. I think they wanted to see him against DC earlier in March. Don't know what's going on there with Alonso and Nguyen. He's a quality player, and I think he has, he is older in age than both Trapp and Ulloa, so maybe he's only a 35-minute guy. You bring him on in the 55th, 65th minute if you need to. But personally, I'd like to be starting him over. I'd probably start him over Trapp, and I think that Ulloa is really comfortable protecting the back line. I want to see that because a Lee Nguyen, Blaise Matuidi partnership with Pizarro taking in balls from them and Carranza or Higuain up top, whatever it may be, could be great in MLS. I think that it's going to really it would worry defenses a lot because the possession that can be controlled, the creative passing, and just going forward would be fantastic. Matuidi, we talked about him being a left midfielder as well when it came to the World Cup. He has this experience going forward. He has this experience as a defensive mid, obviously, and versatility in the midfield is really strong. It could throw other teams off for a loop there. Here's Miami Knight saying he's a spark off from the bench, which totally agreed. Like I said, a 35-minute, 25-minute guy, 65-minute to sub him in for tired legs. If Trapp is doing a lot of work on the defensive side of the ball, or if Ulloa is having trouble still getting forward, you bring in someone like Lee Nguyen to settle down, bring in fresh legs, and still maintain the control of the game and not lose it. We didn't see him get subbed on against Orlando, and that was an interesting call, I think. I think it was, we were up 3-1. Alonso made a triple substitution, or maybe it was a double substitution, and we instantly went down 3-2, and it was a little scary. But Lee Nguyen, I think that today you might see him off the bench, which could be fantastic. And I want to see how he does against a team like Nashville, who has not controlled possession, is not proven in MLS yet, and see what he can do creatively going forward. Martin, I know we love predictions on this show, and we love predictions in our writing. The game starts off in about 8 minutes. Give me a prediction for a score.
Inter Miami 3, Nashville 0. It's gonna be the first blowout for Inter Miami. I think the score isn't gonna open up for a bit, but once it does, and Nashville is forced to come forward, it's gonna be match over for Nashville. So look for that. Look for a tight 20 minutes, and if everything breaks right, if Miami can score in the first 20 minutes, great. But a tight 20 minutes, then the match opens up, and it's fiesta time for Inter Miami.
I would love a 3-0. I'm going to go a little more conservative and say 2-0. I am praying for this clean sheet. And I think we do get off to a hot start, and then I think we're going to see what exactly happened once we score the 3 goals after the whatever it was in the 46th minute when Pizarro scored his third. It kind of died down a little bit. I think we'll see that again. 2 early goals from Inter Miami, however. And it'll be interesting to see how this Nashville defense handles the Inter Miami attack, if they are as creative and positive as they were against Orlando. Walker Zimmerman, one of the best MLS center backs in recent years, made his move there at the beginning of the season and has been a starter ever since. Could give Miami some trouble. I don't think Orlando has a quality center back at that level at all. So going against Walker Zimmerman is going to be a test for Carranza, who was extremely, extremely active. And I haven't even talked about it, but he drew so many fouls. I think he drew maybe 6 or 7 fouls in that game. If he can annoy Walker Zimmerman in a sense, getting forward and making him get on his back, falling, whatever it needs to be, draw those fouls again. Just be careful, annoy the defense. Let's stay positive. Hope for a 2-0, 3-0 victory.
Do you want me to send like a love letter to Walker Zimmerman from you? I don't know. Like, you love the guy.
He is really quality. And when Nashville signed him, it was it wasn't, I wasn't hurt, but I was like, wow, that's a really good signing. And then Nashville also drafted another center back who I wanted as well. All credit to Robbie Robinson and Dylan Nealis. They have been fantastic for us as rookies, but Walker Zimmerman is a very good center back in MLS terms. So yeah, I have respect for him. I have respect for him.
You're fanboying over him so hard. It's kind of embarrassing, really. But no, well, it's okay.
Listen, I'll end the fanboying as long as we score 3 today. How about that?
That's a compromise that I'm willing to live with.
Okay, perfect. That was 90 minutes strong. Martin, shout out anything you would like to before we head out of here?
No, really, shout out to Messi. See when he can get out of Barcelona, because it's looking pretty bad for him right now. But he is in the right. He should be able to get out of Barcelona, and let's stop messing around and let him live his life. Bartomeu, you need to quit.
I don't want to see him at Manchester City at all. It'll hurt my heart as a Man United fan, but it is what it is. That's what we do. We have Basir here, 3-1. Wouldn't be a bad scoreline. I'll take that as well. Well, for Austin Robillard and Martin Bader, that was 90 minutes strong. Tune into the game, and I will probably have a piece. I don't know if Martin wants to do his grades again, or I'll have a post-game piece. Make sure to check that out over on 5 Reasons Sports and all of our continuing work. Martin does a great job for the network. But anyway, thank you guys so much, and see you soon. Appreciate it.
See you guys.